Welcome into the RX Muscle Studios, and for those watching us live on YouTube, we wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays as we enter into the holiday season. Well, earlier this week, the Arnold Classic list was released, and obviously you have a lot to discuss, especially when you look at the bodybuilding field. Joining me in studio is Dave Palumbo to offer his initial thoughts on the 2016 Arnold Classic field. Dave, as you get a look at the list, what are your initial thoughts as we head into 2016?
I'm actually thinking about what I'm going to do on Christmas. I have this ritual that every year, even dating back to when I used to go to my grandmother's house, Italian grandmother's house at 2 o'clock. As soon as I would leave, I would call the Chinese takeout place and I'd order my next meal because the Asian restaurants were open on Christmas. And then after the Chinese restaurant, I would go to the movies. Okay. Now, back in the day when I was really competing, I might hit Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym because they're always open on Sunday as well. But the Arnold Classic lineup, to me, this year is got to be one of the most exciting. And I think it's just one person that's really creating a lot of that excitement, and that's Kai Greene, who we haven't seen since 2010. He obviously won the 2009 and the 2010 Arnold, and then never went back, went directly to the Olympia after that. So this is exciting that he's going to be in the lineup. Obviously, he sat out the Olympia this year, and a lot of people want to know, is Kai washed up? Or is he going to be back and better than ever? And I think that's what's creating a lot of the talk, debate, and excitement.
Well, as you mentioned, Kai Greene, of course, winning it back-to-back years in 2009 and 2010 at a point in which many say he was his absolute peak of his career. And now you look at the past year or so and all the drama leading up to the 2015 Olympia and him eventually not partaking. And then if you look at a year before that, in the 2014 Olympia with all the pre-show controversy at the press conference, it has been a year, or 2 years rather, of controversy for Kai Greene. And now he has a chance, in a sense, to really reestablish himself as the cream of the crop in the bodybuilding field. What do you look for out of Kai Greene as he reemerges onto the Arnold stage for the first time since 2010?
Well, I think Kai, in his mind, probably feels a little bit of relief, or people might think that he feels relief, because obviously he doesn't have to go up against Sean Roden, Phil Heath, or Dennis Wolf, or even Dexter Jackson, for that matter. So you really don't even have the top 5 Olympians there. So Kai, in a sense, you would think has to say, sigh of relief, I could win this show, no problem. But then again, there's more pressure on him now, because if he doesn't win, then that really lowers his stock, so to speak. If someone like Justin Compton comes in, or some of the other guys we're going to talk about in a few minutes, Cedric McMillan, and beats him, knocks him off because he's not at his best, now we're talking about Kai Greene not even, being a potential, second place contender for the Olympia. So I think that there is pressure here. I think in a sense, though, I think Kai's physique is so good that it would be very difficult for him to lose this event.
Well, you mentioned Dexter Jackson, of course, setting an Arnold record, 5-time champion last year, not partaking in the field. Let's talk a little bit more about those that may push Kai Greene as he comes in as the odds-on favorite. And we'll start with Branch Warren, coming in last year at second place and really showing a very impressive physique last year. Really created a lot of buzz. What do you make of Branch Warren coming into this 2016 Arnold?
Well, Branch Warren, is one of these guys that whenever you count him out, he comes back and surprises the crap out of you, and usually, makes you pay for it by beating you. So I think a lot of people counted Branch Warren out last year's Arnold and said, this guy is washed up, he's done, and then he comes in and he almost wins. Because the field was off. There wasn't anyone who was at their absolute best. And I think that's when Branch shines. Now, this field is going to be very tough. There's a much better quality of competitor here, especially a lot of the younger guys going to be entering this with the Cody Montgomerys, Evan Centopanis, the Justin Comptons. So I think that Branch might have a difficult time in this lineup. But once again, you never know who's coming in shape, and I guarantee you Branch will be in shape. So, I would not bet him out. I would not count him out of that top 4. I think he's a shoo-in for top 4 here. Even though he might not be the best Branch Warren, but we've seen from years past, I think he's top 4 here just because of his consistency.
Justin Compton, you mentioned his name last year at the age of 26, coming in third, and really was Just at a very impressive for him. And then, much to the chagrin of the bodybuilding world, electing not to compete at the Olympia. He comes back, as you mentioned, as one of the prime candidates to really push. Kai, what do you look for out of Justin Compton now at age 27?
You know, Justin Compton, a lot of people criticized his decision to skip the Olympia. I think Justin sees himself as a potential Olympia winner at some point, and I think it was a strategic move on his part. It gave him an entire year, because let's face it, when you do the Arnold and the Olympia in the same year, you don't really have much of an offseason to grow. He wanted a complete offseason. He skipped the Olympia. I'm sure right after the Arnold, he said to himself, I'm not doing the Olympia. He didn't announce to anyone, but I guarantee you in his mind he knew that. He wanted to take that whole year to come back even better. Now, if he comes back with an additional 5 or 6 pounds of muscle, then it was time well spent. If he doesn't look any better, or if he looks the same, then maybe it was a missed opportunity by doing the Olympia and raising his stock up a little higher. I think that Compton is the most dangerous guy in the lineup behind Kai Greene. I think Kai's got to be nervous and worried about this guy. He can get ridiculously shredded. He's got a good structure. He's big. He's massive. He can stand with Kai size-wise. And I think that, he's probably the most dangerous unknown in the lineup. So if Kai comes in a little off, not at his best, where we've seen him do at the Olympia, I think that Compton can step in and surprise this lineup. And if he beats Kai here, I think that's going to raise his stock through the roof. So for Compton, it's a great show knowing that Kai's in that lineup.
And then one of the other young guns in the lineup, and now we're talking really young, and that is Cody Montgomery, who many were wondering at what point was he going to take the stage as a professional. Of course, recently earning his pro card after sheer dominance at the teen level, and now entering the Arnold competition, really under the bright lights. You spoke to Jay Cutler just a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about the level of excitement that this brings not only to this competition in general, but to bodybuilding in general, because now you get to see one of the bright young stars in action.
A lot of people think it's a great idea. I know Jay said it's good for the sport. It's good for Cody. I'm gonna take the opposite viewpoint. I think it's a bad decision on Cody's part. He just won the USA, at 20 years old. I think he's the youngest guy to ever turn to win the overall at a major event like that. And now, what does he do? He goes right into the Arnold. He didn't really even have much of an offseason to improve. He's so young. I think this was a rushed show. I think the Arnold is of a caliber that's much higher than he's ready for. Even Phil Heath didn't go right to the Arnold after he turned pro. He went to the New York Pro first. So, and most people use the New York Pro as their stepping stone. I think he would have been better served to have waited the extra couple of months, done the New York Pro, or done one of the summer shows. I think New York Pro would have been great. That's a good launching pad. And I think that we would have seen a better Cody Montgomery. Now, having said that, he surprised everyone every single year from every teen national win he had, all three of those. Up until when he did the USA, I don't think anyone expected him to win the overall. I just don't think he's going to have enough firepower or enough improvements from the USA to do damage in that lineup. Now, that's not to say that he can't maybe possibly make the top 6, because he might be able to, but I don't know if that's a victory for Cody. Cody's a guy who's never really lost a show. So, for him, I think I would have gone for the win at the New York Pro first, waited till the Arnold the year after that. But, let's see how it goes. Chris Aceto's obviously advising him. He's got, a lot of people behind him. He's got a lot of motivation. He's a very self-motivated guy. I don't doubt that he'll be at his best at that show. Whether his best will be good enough, I don't think so.
Now we go to arguably the sweetheart darling of the 2015 Arnold Classic. And, you obviously into snakes. This particular athlete was snake bit over the course of the last year, finishing fourth at the Arnold and to a raucous amount of boos from the crowd who thought he deserved a lot better. Arnold himself came out a couple of days, said he thought Cedric deserved a lot better. And then, of course, having the stomach issues and having to withdraw from the Olympia. And then the other hardship was supposed to be competing at the FIBO Power Show, and that getting canceled. So really a bad luck of run for Cedric McMillan. Nonetheless, he comes in as another one of those wild cards for this upcoming 2016 Arnold.
Well, yeah, and he still did win a show last year. Let's not forget. He went out to California, he won out there, and he qualified for the Olympia that way. Cedric is a weird character because, you never know what he's going to do. He's very unconventional. He should have gone to Toronto after the Arnold. He could have easily have won that show and qualified. He's not a very good decision maker in terms of which shows he should be doing and which shows he shouldn't be doing. He should have done Australia after the Arnold last year. He didn't do that. I don't know why, especially with the momentum from what Arnold said about how great he thought his symmetry was. He probably had the best posing routine at the Arnold last year. Cedric's problem is that he's just never at 100% in terms of he's either hard enough and he's not full enough, or he's full enough. And I think that goes to the fact that Cedric kind of marches to his own beat. I know Chris Aceto does his diet, but I don't think that Cedric listens 100% to what Chris says. He probably listens more to Chris than he ever listened to anyone else. But having said that, Cedric's always going to be in that wild card area. He could either be the show easy winner, or he could be the guy who's like, well, I don't know if he's going to make top 5. What Cedric shows up this year is anyone's guess. Now, he did miss the Olympia, obviously. So, because he was sick, he did come back a couple weeks later, I believe, and he did the Nordic Pro. Didn't look good at all. Okay, but then again, he was sick. So I don't know what Cedric's going to show up. If I was a betting man, I would say Cedric will certainly be top 5. How much higher than that, I don't know. I would love to see the comparisons of him and Kai Green, because I think structure and size-wise, he matches up real well with Kai. If he comes in hard enough, I think he can give Kai a run for his money. And I wouldn't bet against Cedric. I think that Cedric, Justin Compton, and Kai Green are the 3 most dangerous competitors in the lineup. I think Cedric being the biggest wild card, however.
Your take on Evan Centopani finishing 5th at the Arnold last year?
Evan is one of these guys who's got so much mass on his body, and he's always in such good conditioning and such good shape that the guy is a perennial top 5 Arnold guy. You can't count him out, because you know what? I know that Evan will show up in shape. He's probably the only guy in that lineup you can bank on, along with probably Branch Warren, who will be in good condition. Okay? Now, Evan's legs have always been his weakness. He has the good front quads, but his inner thighs are a little weak, so his legs look a little shallow. And if he comes in too flat, they look terrible usually. I think that Evan has figured out his body at this point, and I think we'll get probably a 98% Evan Centopani at this show, and I think that will be good for top 4 easily. If I had a bet, I would say I'd give Evan Centopani 4th or higher. So I don't think he's going to be any lower than 4th place here. I think he beats Branch Warren. I think he can beat. Cedric McMillan if he's not in shape. So I think that Evan is a dangerous guy in this lineup. I don't think he's going to win this show. But I think that he is a guy to look out for, and these other competitors should be very worried about him.
Let's get a thought on the rest of the field. It is a very intriguing field when you look at the likes of Tony Freeman, who came in last year in 10th place, Fouad Abiad, who won the Orlando Europa, Johnny O. Jackson, Juan Morel, Max Charles, and then, of course, the Arnold Amateur winner, Lucas Weiler.
Well, I mean, I think we got to talk about Juan Morel here as a serious threat as well, because this is a guy who won the New York Pro last year. He beat Victor Martinez. Granted, Victor Martinez is not the Victor Martinez from years past, but he beat a very good Victor Martinez. Victor would say that he didn't beat him, but the scorecard said he did. Juan is one of these guys that he's got one of the best structures on the stage. His conditioning is always amazing, because the guy can eat 1 million calories a day and still get in shape. His problem is whether he comes in too flat or not. And it's when your metabolism is that fast, it's hard to time things sometimes. The benefit he's got is that it's a very short flight from New York to Columbus, Ohio, which is going to benefit him, I think. And I think whenever he's close to home, he always looks his best. So when he does the Connecticut shows, when he does the New York shows, I always see a very good Juan Morel. So I'm thinking that Juan, his wife just had a baby. There might be a little turmoil in the house, but I think that he's very focused on this show. It's important for him from a career standpoint, from a making money standpoint, that he be his best at this show. So I think that Juan is no way out of that top 5. I think he's a serious threat to make top 3 if he's at his best. But if he's not at his best, he can certainly be as low as 6. So, but I don't think he's out of that top 5 or 6 whatsoever. He's probably another, like I said, very dangerous guy in the lineup. I put him up there with Evan Centopani. Depending on which version of Juan shows up, he could be seriously dangerous, or he could be vulnerable. And I think that, once again, he's got all the motivation in the world to be his best at this show.
For all the ongoing coverage of the Arnold Classic 2016 and the entire 2016 contest season, keep it locked to rxmuscle.com.